Go. A large wheel of radius 2 feet is rotated at a constant rate. The figure provides a representation of the wheel in the xy plane with the direction of rotation indicated. At times t equals 0 minutes, the wheel begins to rotate. Point P on the wheel is at the start point, at the start position in the figure. At times t equals 20, 120 rotations of the wheel have been completed, and P is in the same position as it was at time t equals 0. A sinusoidal function is used to model the y-coordinate of the position of P as a function of time t in minutes. Which of the following functions is an appropriate model for this function situation? So we need to find out which one of these sinusoidal functions models the y-coordinate of P as it spins around in this circle. So it goes from a y-coordinate of 0 to y-coordinate of 2, back to 0 to -2, and then back to 0. And it does this in from 0 to 20 minutes with 120 rotations in between, meaning it spins in the circle 120 times in those 20 minutes. So what we need to see is which one of these points here gives us a y-coordinate of 0, meaning the function f of t returns 0 at 0 minutes, so 0 at its value 0 for t, and it gives us 0 again for a value of t equals 20. So let's do this. So for f of 0, 2 sine pi by 10 times 0 equals, so this is just sine of 0 is 0, so this gives us 0. So that's good. At times t equals 0, the y-coordinate of P is 0, so we should be getting 0. Now let's check this one here. F of 0 is 2 sine of pi by 3 times 0, so just 0 again. So this just gives us 0. F of 0, 2 times sine of 6 times 0, so that's 0, gives us 0 again. And similarly for the last one, if we plug in 0 for t, we just get 2 times the sine of 0, which is 0. Okay, so they all give us the correct y-coordinate for p at time t equals 0, but now we got to check at time t equals 20. So when t equals 20, we should get 0 again. So f of 20 for the first equation, 2 times sine of pi over 10 times 20. We can put that into our calculator. So we have pi divided by 10, multiplying that with 20, and then taking the sine of that and multiplying that by 2, so we get 0. So that's good. After 20 minutes of rotating, the question says that P is in the same position as it was at time t equals 0, so we should get 0 for both. So yes, so A is correct in those 2 points. Let's check B. So f of 20 is 2 sine pi by 3 times 20. So if we put that into our calculator, pi divided by 3 times 20, and we take the sine of that and then multiply that by 2, we get something that's not 20. We get 1.73. We get 1.73, which is not equal to 0. So we can rule out answer choice B, because after 20 minutes, the function needs to return back to 0, because P is in the same position as it was at time t equals 0 when t equals 20. Now let's do the same for C. F of 20 equals 2 sine 6 times 20. So let's put that into our calculator. We just need to find 6 times 20. So 120, take the sine of that. That's 0.58. Multiply that with 2. And we get 1.16. This is also not equal to 0. And that means C cannot be the correct answer. We need the function to equal 0 at time t equals 20. Now what about the last function, D? So 2 times sine of 12 pi times 20. So we need to do 12 times pi times 20. That gives us this. We take the sine of that, and that gives us 0. So multiplying by 2 will still give us 0. Okay, so A and D both have correct f of t values at those 2 points. So now how do we find out which one of these is correct? Well, we can use this information here. We're told that at times t equals 20, 120 rotations of the graph have passed, meaning the sinusoid will have gone through 100 cycles between time t equals 0 and t equals 20. So I've graphed both of these in a graphing calculator. So the first function up here is the function from A, and the second one here, this giant mess, is D. In the first function, we see that when we go from 0 to 20, the graph only goes through one cycle. Whereas in the second graph for D, this is 0 here, it's hard to see, and then this is 20. We see that it goes through many more cycles. So the graph in A obviously doesn't go through 120 cycles, whereas the graph in D does. And graph D had the correct f of 0 and f of t values, f of 20 values, but graph A did not have enough cycles between 0 and 20. So D is the correct answer.